welcome to the YYC Soccer Podcast. My name is Jason Komet, and my co-host is Scott Strasser. Hey, Scott.
Hey, Jason.
So, another Thursday night. Time to talk a little soccer?
Absolutely. Feels like fall, feels like Thursday. Excited to dive into it.
So, Scott, you always remind us, what is the YYC Soccer Podcast all about?
Episode 132. Our podcast focuses on soccer in Calgary at all levels, including amateur, collegiate, and professional. We talk a lot about Cavalry FC and the Calgary Wild, but at this time of year, we talk a lot about the Calgary-based post-secondary teams, including the University of Calgary Dinos, Mount Royal University Cougars, and the SAIT Trojans. And this week, we're going to be talking about all those teams.
Our topics will include Cavalry FC. They're going to play HFX Wanderers on Saturday afternoon. The Calgary Wild will be playing Montreal on Saturday afternoon. The kickoff is at exactly the same time. We'll also talk about some post-secondary matches coming up on the weekend, including Calgary U Sports teams making their way to BC this weekend. And we'll also be talking about some SAIT Trojans matches. They're also going to be playing this weekend.
Let's get right into it and kick things off with our preview of Cavalry versus Halifax.
I'm Shamit Shom. This is the YYC Soccer Podcast.
All right, Scott, Cavalry FC, they've got a pretty crucial match on Saturday afternoon at Spruce Meadows. They're playing Halifax Wanderers at 2 p.m. They're neck and neck with them in the table right now, aren't they?
Yeah, and for that reason, this is a really important game for Cavalry. I'd argue that it's the battle for third place, although I think York United will have something to say about that. But no, Cavalry is currently in third place, but just a point ahead of both of those two teams. So Halifax will be coming to Calgary this weekend to try and knock Cavalry down a peg and do what York United did last weekend. Yeah, I mean, the importance of finishing third place in the CPL is pretty established. It means that you get to begin your playoff run at home, and it means you don't have that midweek playoff game just a few days after the end of the regular season, which is, of course, the game between the fourth and fifth place. So there's a lot of reasons to want to finish in third, and with just 6 games left, that's going to be something that Cavalry, York, and Halifax are very focused on.
Cavalry might have some players back. Last week, they had a bit of a depleted lineup, but I think the expectation is there will be a few players back. You know, Ali Musi should be back from international duty. He was playing for Somalia last weekend. And Diego Gutierrez will be back from suspension. And we have a couple players that we think might be back. Not completely sure, though.
Yeah, those include Shamit Shom, who has been out for what feels like a very long time with injury. And then Mikhail Gerasimenkov, he was also on international duty with Moldova's U21s last week, but he did not dress in their game versus Slovakia on Tuesday.
I thought that was weird. I tried to look around to see if there was a reason, but yeah, he wasn't in the lineup. One thing I thought of is maybe he got a red card, or they're playing in Euro qualifying for U21s. I thought maybe in the previous game he got another yellow card and he's suspended, but doesn't seem to be the case. He never got any cards in that previous game. So
yeah, a little bit of a question mark, but I think that could be asked at Friday's press conference. Cavalry always hosts their pregame press conferences Friday morning for the most part. So we'll know a little bit more shortly after this episode is released about the roster for Saturday. But overall, I think Cavalry is coming into it fairly healthy looking, and they'll want to be because Halifax is going to be gunning for them.
Halifax, in their last match, they lost to Forge, but besides losing that game, their run of form has been pretty decent lately.
Oh, definitely. Before that loss to Forge, which, I mean, let's face it, Forge is so strong this year that to only lose 1-0 is a decent result. But before that, Halifax beat York United 4-0 at home, which was a really big statement from them. I watched some of that game, and Halifax looked deadly. And before that, they beat Valor 4-1. And before that, they drew Pacific 2-2. 10 goals in their last 4 games. You know, overall, when you look at Halifax versus Cavalry games, throughout the history of the CPL, this is a matchup that has really favored Cavalry. In their 25 games against Halifax, I think they've won 13, and Halifax has only won 3. But they have had some good showings against Cavalry this year, including a couple of draws.
Yeah, there was that goalless draw here at Spruce Meadows. That was in early August, right?
Yeah, August 9th, and I believe that was a game where the Cavalry contingent were really upset afterward, like in the post-game press conference. I think that was the game where Tommy Wheeldon Jr. had some choice words about the officiating. But before that, these two teams played to a 1-1 draw on June 14th in Halifax, and Cavalry won the first match against Halifax this year 3-0 back on May 10th, which was during that really good run of form they had after the slow start to the season.
Yeah, so I know it might be a bit of a overused saying, but yeah, big game for sure. Really big game here for Cavalry this week, and one where, getting a result and getting 3 points would really go a long ways to giving them the upper hand in getting that third spot.
Yeah, I mean, they could either finish the weekend 4 points clear of the team behind them with 5 games to go, or they could finish the weekend in 5th place. So big weekend for Calgary FC.
Hey y'all, this is Jorian Bauckham, and you're listening to the YYC Soccer Podcast.
So the Calgary Wild are also playing, and this, I believe that we had earlier this summer, we had a day where there was a Wild and a Cavalry match the same day. But actually, this weekend, they're going to be kicking off at the exact same time at 2 p.m. on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, so fans are going to have to pick which game they go to or which game they watch. 2 p.m. kickoff at McMahon Stadium. Just 3 home games left for the Wild this season. And Jason, considering how things are going, those might be the last 3 home games of the year, considering their playoff hopes are looking pretty slim at the moment, although not mathematically guaranteed.
We discussed this in the last episode of the podcast, and I think I didn't run the numbers completely, but I think that if the Wild were to make the playoffs, they'd probably have to win 5 of their last 6 games. And that would be a pretty remarkable turnaround in form. Yeah, it's not looking terribly likely at this point in time.
No, unfortunately not. The Wild have only won consecutive games once this season. Every other win they've had has been kind of sandwiched between defeats or draws. So, and it won't be easy, right? Montreal has slipped in the table a little bit. They were, I think, first place at the start of the year. Then they slipped down to second for a big chunk of the season. And all of a sudden, they're down to 4th after a couple of unsatisfactory results. But they still have a really strong squad. They recently signed South Korean international Chae-Rim Kang, who actually scored a brace against Calgary the last time these two teams faced each other back in Montreal just a couple of weekends ago. So she'll be one that the Wild's defense will need to try to stop, assuming she's playing. And yeah, they're going to have to find a way to put the ball in the back of the net, which is something that they've not been able to do in the last 3 games. And
the Wild have signed a new player, which maybe could potentially help them on offense. Anderson Williams, a Calgarian who spent 5 years at Texas A&M and graduated last year. She signed with the team for the remainder of the season.
Just for the last half dozen games, but impressive career in the NCAA. Also, I think made the academic honor roll every year of her college career. And I believe she was the co-captain in 2024. Excited to see her come back to her hometown and see how she fares at the pro level.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering if she was going to give the pros a try. And she never appeared in any League One Alberta matches this year. I was kind of watching for her to see if she would show up on a team. But yeah, it's good. And with the number of injuries they have, and I guess just the run of form, maybe try something different. Maybe she will get a run out at some point on Saturday. That'd be cool to see.
So in terms of other stuff to mention about this game, I think it is worth noting that the last time they played each other in Calgary, the Wild were victorious. That was, of course, their 1-0 win with a late goal from Janaea Robertson. And the team's, I guess it wasn't their home opener because that was actually the goalless draw with Ottawa, but it was their first home win.
Hey, this is Charles Nana, and you're listening to the YYC Soccer Podcast.
So now let's talk about post-secondary soccer. Busy weekend for pretty much every Calgary-based team. However, it seems like everybody is on the road. Let's start with talking about SAIT, particularly on the women's side. They have a pretty exciting matchup, just when considering that their opponent and themselves, SAIT, are both ranked in the top 10 nationally at the moment.
Yeah, the national rankings came out this week, and SAIT is ranked number 5, and one of their opponents on the weekend, Red Deer Polytechnic, is ranked number 9. So 2 heavyweights in ACAC.
Definitely. And that is the Saturday matchup, and that's taking place in Red Deer. And then Sunday, they'll make the short drive south to Olds to face the Broncos. Kickoff at noon.
And then on the men's side, they'll be facing the same opponents. They'll play Red Deer immediately after the women's match at 2:15. And then on Sunday, they'll be at Olds at 2:15. All right, Scott, let's talk about U Sports and teams on the road. The men's teams are heading out to BC this weekend.
Yeah, I don't think they'll be sharing a bus or anything like that, but it was pretty interesting to see that they're both heading west. For the Dinos, they're heading to Kelowna to face the UBCO Heat Friday evening, 6:30 p.m. kickoff. I think the Dinos will be favored in this one. UBCO are not off to a great start with no wins from their first 4. And shortly after that game, Mount Royal University will be taking on Trinity Western in Langley with a late 8:15 p.m. kickoff.
And then on Saturday, the Dinos move from Kelowna to Kamloops, and they play Thompson Rivers University at 6:30. And Mount Royal stays in the lower mainland area, and they play University Fraser Valley at 8 p.m.
Yeah, and I think, again, for the Dinos, they probably got the easier weekend. TRU is currently at the bottom of the Pacific standings with an 0-6 record.
On the women's side, the Cougars and the Dinos are both on the road, and they're both playing the same team both days on the weekend.
Yeah, they both got a pair of double headers. The MRU Cougars, they'll be taking on the Manitoba Bisons 11 a.m. on Saturday, and then again at noon on Sunday. And then the U of C Dinos will be down in Lethbridge for games against the Pronghorns. Kickoff at 4 p.m. on Saturday, and then 2:15 p.m. on Sunday. Thank you for listening to the YYC Soccer Podcast. You can have this podcast downloaded to your device as soon as it becomes available by subscribing on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any other platform. Check our website out at yycsoccer.com, where you can look through our episode archive and find other options to listen, including our YouTube channel. We also have links to buy my book, Here Come the Cavalry, which is all about the history of professional soccer in Calgary. You can leave a question or comment in the Contact Us section of our website, or you could interact with us on social media through Twitter, Instagram, or Blue Sky, where our username is at YYC Soccer 403. Thanks for listening.